friends, welcome back to my channel. I am so happy you're all here. And in today's video, I wanted to share with you a few tips that I use to prep for the holiday season. And this was actually a requested video, so thank you so much, Suzanne, for the idea. I truly appreciate it. Okay, my first tip for you is to go through your traditions and decide what to keep and what to get rid of. And what I mean by that, for example, is that last year was the first time that I decided to not send out Christmas cards. For the 23 years prior to that, I mailed out cards every year to over 100 people. In the beginning, it was something that I truly enjoyed doing, designing a Christmas card and all that went into it. And as time went on, I realized that I was just kind of stressing about the Christmas card. So finally, I decided last year I just wasn't going to do it anymore. My husband was fine with the idea, and then what a relief it was not to have to do that. It freed up so much more time, it freed up money, and for me at this point in my life, it was just a good decision. I also decided last year that I was going to pare down my baking. I do love to bake Christmas cookies every year, but for some reason, I always had it in my head that I needed to make, 7, 8 different types of cookies. And it got to the point where I wasn't enjoying it because it was just too much. So I realized, you know what, I can just make everyone in my family's favorite Christmas cookies and that will be fine. 4 or 5 kinds is absolutely fine. Or buying them from a bakery is absolutely fine. But just do whatever it is that really matters to you, and maybe you will find there are some traditions that instead of adding joy to your holiday season, they're just adding stress. So maybe those are the things that it's just time to get rid of. My next suggestion is to always go through all of the supplies that you will need for the holiday season. And the things that I always make sure that I have on hand are, for one, boxes. I start saving boxes from Stitch Fix or from Amazon. Those work well for sending packages out to my loved ones that live far away. And you've probably realized too that not as many stores nowadays give you the clothing boxes as they used to, it seems. So I make sure I have the clothing boxes that you can purchase at the store. I also make sure I have packing tape on hand. And of course, I always make sure I have Scotch tape available. I make sure I have wrapping paper ready to go. I also look at our batteries. We do have this battery holder in our laundry room, and I will just go through and make sure I have batteries in there, because if you're like me, you have a lot of little Christmas trees or Christmas decorations that require batteries. I also need command strips to hang decorations for Christmas. Always make sure that I have command strips available. This year, I also found at Target, which was kind of new to me, I didn't know that they had made these, they have garland ties that I think will be very handy in putting garland on your banisters or on your mantles. So I picked up some garland ties. So just go through the list of supplies of things that you know you use every holiday season and just make sure you have those items. The next thing I like to do is to prep and use my freezer. There are so many recipes that you can make ahead and freeze that will turn out beautifully. Certain pies sometimes work well, or side dishes. Or if you don't want to make the entire dish ahead of time, just do any prep work that you can. That just makes life a little bit easier. For example, I always like to make my sugar cookie dough in advance and put it in the freezer, because those of you that like to bake sugar cookies know it is quite the process. And then I also like to do some simple prep things that seem to help me. For example, I like to chop up extra onions and put those in the freezer, and just having those available to me just makes my cooking a little bit easier during the holiday season. So go ahead, and if you can freeze anything, do that, or just at least prep as much as you possibly can before the holidays. My next tip for you is when you are planning your menus for the special holiday meals, make a thorough shopping list. And what I mean by that is that when you have planned out your menu, I make sure I look at every recipe and I go through every ingredient. And I do not leave anything up to chance for these type of meals. I make sure I lay my eyes on the ingredient that I think I have. I open up my spices. I don't just leave it for chance that I think I've got cinnamon. No, I open up my spice rack and I check my cinnamon. I see how much is in there. And I do that for every ingredient for these special meals, because I have learned in the past that I am in the middle of making something and then I realize that no, I thought I had cinnamon, but actually I only had a sprinkle of cinnamon. So make sure that you go through every ingredient that is required for a recipe, so that when you are making your shopping list, it will be very thorough. So then you won't be surprised when you're making something and you were sure you had chicken broth, but then when you open your pantry, indeed, you did not have any chicken broth. So lay your eyes on every ingredient and then make a thorough shopping list. So friends, these are just a few of the tips that I use to help myself during the holiday season and just make it run a little smoother and a little less stressful. I hope that this was helpful for you, and I do appreciate you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye.